tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Our guests waiting to be profiled are sports promoter Shelly Saltman and actor Robert Trebor. Author Shelly Saltman has had a legendary career as a promoter of entertainment, sports, and humanities. He was born and raised in Boston, went to Newton High School, then on to University of Massachusetts, Boston University, and Boston College Law School. Shelly, you talk about your varied education in Catholic, Episcopal, and Methodist schools. Well, you were raised in a strict Jewish family. How confused are you?
Well, no, not really. It gave me an opportunity that in my work life to understand that all people are the same.
That's so
Whether
true.
you're a Muslim, a Catholic, a Jew, a Protestant, Greek Orthodox or Eastern Orthodox, we're the same. Same problems, same feelings, same love of our families.
So you weren't confused?
No, but I'll tell you this though. My grandson Sam was bar mitzvahed about 3 weeks ago. And he came to me and said, Poppy, because that's what the kids call me. And he said, Poppy, we're going to give you an aliyah. That means they're going to call you up to the pulpit.
Oh, right.
And he says, we're going to honor you. I want to know your Hebrew name. Well, the Jewish word for be quiet is shechid. So I said to Sam, until I was 10 years old, I thought my name was Shechid. He says, Poppy, that means be quiet. I said, well, I went to Hebrew school, and the rabbi kept saying, Shechid Saltman, Shechid Saltman. Then I told him my real name, which was Shlomo.
Shlomo?
Yeah.
Well, here you were in this pretty tight group. Were there doctors there, or were they sports athletes?
Well, everybody.
Did your mom want you to be a doctor?
No, actually, I'll tell you an interesting, well, I think it's interesting. You judge for yourself. I was a fairly good basketball player, and somehow I got a scholarship to the University of Massachusetts. They made a mistake, but that's okay. And I got an education as a result. But I remember I played for a school in Newton, high school, but I also played wherever I could. And I played for Temple Emmanuel, which is the temple my family belonged to. And I really was impressed by this rabbi, Harold Castle. I'll never forget it. And I thought, this is what I want to do with my life. So here's my mother, the little Orthodox Jewish woman. And I come home, and I said to her, I said, Mama, I think I'd like to be a rabbi. And she looks at me, she says, Zindel, that means son. What kind of job is that for a Jewish boy?
I love that. You
It's
tell
true.
that story in your book, Fear No Evil. I love that. You tell so many great stories. And I'm going to go through really quickly because there's so many stories, and it's so readable. Let me hold it up, Fear No Evil. Sports announcing.
Well, that's what I started out to be. That was my first love. When I was in the military, I was sports director of Armed Forces Radio and the Far East Network, and my first job out of the Army, I was with a thing called the Gillette Cavalcade of Sports.
Ah, right.
And on Friday night, we used to do the fights on radio, and I had the great pleasure of working with a man I think to this day was the finest blow-by-blow announcer I've ever met, Don Dunphy. In 1956, I got married and decided I was only home 5 weekends in the first 5 months of my marriage. So I decided that's no way to have a solid base. So I asked Gillette to bring me in, and I became the assistant promotion manager of Gillette Safety Razor alongside my lifelong friend, Haig Jagalian, and we did a lot of things together.
Was it another Armenian?
Oh,
Armenian,
yeah.
right.
Well, my roommate was George Vartanian, and the other guard on my high school basketball team was Dick Tufenction, so I guess...
Well, you lived right in that area, Watertown, Newton,
Well,
Belmont.
I grew up in Cambridge and Newton, and Watertown was right in the middle. And Watertown to the East Coast is like Fresno.
Exactly.
In relation, like, for example, I played tennis out here with Mike Connors, who was a wonderful Armenian, and Tig Andrews.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a great experience.
Well, that talks about your all-inclusiveness and that whole career of yours, of how you love people.
Yeah, well, that's really genuine.
Do love people. Were all those Boston contacts helpful to you as you went through your career from sports announcing?
Absolutely. See, in my dad's house, my dad was part of the scene. In fact, my father was one of 7 brothers. And when a Jewish boy is born, after he's 8 days old, they have a bris. And at the bris, the godfather, who is named, holds the boy to be circumcised. It's a ritual. Well, my father did not want to insult his 6 brothers, so his best friend from Cambridgeport, Thomas Francis Patrick Xavier O'Neill, my Uncle Tip, who later became the Speaker of the House, he was my godfather.
Tip O'Neill.
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
then in my grandmother's house in Cambridge, my grandmother had a 3-story house, and she rented out the 3rd floor to Harvard law school students. And I didn't know. We lived in my grandmother's house till I was 5 years old, so we got our first apartment. But I was bounced on the knee because, you see, there were seminars with the Harvard students, and some of the great jurists who were teaching at Harvard would come there, and unbeknownst to me, that's right, unbeknownst to me, they would have seminars and teach. I was bounced on the knee, according to my mother and father, as they told me later, by future Judge Felix Frankfurter and Judge Louis Dembitz Brandeis.
Oh, they were all there. They were all there at Harvard.
And in Cambridge, at my Aunt Dora's house, she had all these girls from Wellesley and Radcliffe, and when I was 10, I met Madame Chiang Kai-shek, so it was a great visual experience.
It really is. So let's go through another chapter.
Go ahead.
Pilgrim badges.
Oh, that was really wonderful. Pilgrim Badge and Label, which became
so
Pilgrim
great.
Plastic Products. I became the vice president of advertising promotion. I created a slogan, Tomorrow's Ideas Today. But I got to tell you, which might be an interesting story, there was a man who gave me my first job in publicity when I was 14 years old. His name was Art Moger. He was the Warner Brothers promotion and marketing man in Boston, a brilliant man. I mean, he had a Rolodex that someday I would like to rival. He was a sweet man. So he gave me my first job. I said, what am I going to do, Mr. Moger? He said, well, he says, you know all these fences where they say post no bills? I'm giving you a paste pot and a brush and the 4-sheeters, which are posters. Wherever it says post no bills, you go post them.
On top
and
of that.
I had the strongest left arm in Boston. Years later, Pilgrim Plastics was getting the job to do and design the first credit card, first plastic credit card.
That's what I thought was so interesting.
Yeah, and so we had the job, and it was up to my creativity. It was for, what's the name, Standard Oil of Illinois.
That was such an interesting thing to go from badges to credit cards.
Well, because they were making plastic badges, so it was easy to die cut them, make them 10
I know,
10
but no
degree
one had thought of those things
they were
before?
brilliant. They were brilliant.
I know.
And so it was actually a fellow named Bill Epstein and a guy named Herb Siegel, and I was there just to do the creative. But part of what happened, I was advertising for a young artist, and in came this girl. Her name was Marsha Fleischman. And as soon as she walked in, I knew she was the artist. And then she said, well, Mr. Saltman, in fairness to you, I'm getting married in 3 months to a guy in the radio business. Well, you know, I knew a lot of people in the radio business. I said, who? She said, his name is Stan Moger. Well, Stan Moger was my junior counselor at a camp when I was teaching basketball up in New Hampshire.
Oh, my gosh.
And so she said, I can't take it, and she left, and just as well because it took 7 months to develop the card.
That was so interesting. The other thing I thought was the MCA.
MCA, I loved it. MCA giants. I learned more from a fellow named Lou Wasserman, who is a giant, and I had a great pleasure to work directly for and with him. A man in Cleveland named D'Arv Barton. I was the promotion manager of the television station in Cleveland town, WJW-TV, Channel 8, and he saw my work. And it seems that 32 years earlier, he'd sent a Jewish publicist from Cleveland to MCA. I was the second one, and the first was Lou Wasserman. And so I had the great pleasure of studying under a master. And he was wonderful. He had this great ability. And there have been many stories about Lou, and I cannot tell you enough nice stories about him because he was great. He was a benevolent boss and a hard taskmaster. He had the ability of taking his mind and divide it up. What do I do right, and what do I accomplish if I use this side? What is it that don't do it? What do I lose?
How brilliant.
And I would go into his office in a hectic week where he'd made a multi-million deal. There was never a scrap of paper on his desk.
It was all in his mind. Okay, I don't want to miss out on the reason you wrote this, called Fear No Evil, and it has to do with Evel Knievel.
People who are old enough will remember about 30 years ago, he came on the Fox lot, and he beat me up with a baseball bat and went to the hospital.
But why? What happened? Tell me.
For no reason. I have never talked about it before. I've always taken the high road and let him vilify me, vituperatively cast aspersions. But about 4 years ago, when my grandson Sammy was in the 4th grade, he came home and said to me, Poppy, why don't you like Evel Knievel? I said, he's not a nice man. So all my friends think he's cool and they're going to buy his toys. I said, Sammy, as long as you're my grandson, and that's a lifetime deal, you'll never. So I sat down, I started to write a thing called Master of Ballyhoo, and I let it languish. But you know, and I try to describe my feelings because I had no animosity and still have no animosity towards Evel Knievel. But he said I said certain things in the book which I never did. 3 weeks ago.
Is that what it was?
Yep.
Is that what the whole
3
story
weeks ago,
was?
while reading USA Today, the things he accused me of saying, he said about himself, and I never said it. But after he
You
beat
mean
me
to
up,
this day?
right?
To this day, we're still okay. Go on.
Anyway, with the long story making short, he was coming towards me, and he just asked me to do another promotion for him. He was going to jump over a Shark Tank at Chicago's McCormick Hall, and I thought he was coming to see me. Then I saw he had a baseball bat, and suddenly my arms were pinned. He came at me, and he started hitting me. I have a steel plate, Jan, right here.
In your arm,
8
I
inches,
know.
8 inches long, and about 10 pins, and I couldn't believe it. And I went through a gamut of emotions while as I lie there, and then years went by. It must be like a woman being raped. First, I looked at him and I thought, why me? Why me? I was so surprised. I never hurt the guy. Then the next was abject fear. Fear like maybe he'll come back again and hurt me. And then you get to rage where I could kill the son of a bitch, you know. But then you get to where you finally are and where I am today, pity. I pity him, not me, because in one fell foolish moment, with nothing wrong, he turned around and ruined his career and changed
life.
my life forever. My life has been great. He's never recovered.
But it's the same thing. It can ruin your career and change somebody else's life. Change both
Forever.
of your lives.
Forever.
Exactly. I think the interesting thing was it was on the lot.
Yes.
And people thought it was a part of
That's
the
right.
action that was going on
Well, I was a
there.
producer and an executive, and he was a celebrity. You know, and actually, when I came to after weeks in the hospital, my wife and I decided to sue. I'm a non-litigious person, but we decided to sue. So I went everywhere looking for a lawyer. Everywhere I went, the best lawyers in town. Fortunately, we didn't talk to your husband, but the best lawyers in town. And finally said, I'm good, I can do it, but this guy's better. So we got the guy who's better. And as soon as I got him, I knew I was going to win big. His name is Ned Good. So I had the
know
perfect
Ned
case.
Good.
Good against evil.
Good against you, perfect.
Yeah.
And let's get to something like really much happier than that. Your time with Andy Williams.
The best.
I know. Let's
Andy
finish
Williams,
on that.
Andy Williams, still a dear friend. I felt like I was the 5th Williams brother. When I promoted him and did the things for him, it was easy because what you see was what you got. Genuine, great singer, wonderful human being who taught me an awful lot. I don't know if we have time, but one story I'll never forget. In the days before cacophony and rap and all the so-called music of today, Andy would spend out of proportion. We'd go on tour. We'd be on tour 30 days.
And you had all kinds of celebrities with you, didn't you?
Oh yeah, but Andy would spend all this money on the equipment. And I said to him, Andy, why? He says, very simple. The people in the first rows, they're either got corporate payment or they can afford it. But the people in the back are my real fans, and they're the ones that deserve to hear me as close to what my records sound like. And he's a very caring man.
It really was good for you. You really loved
Oh, I
being
love
with
them.
them.
And I love the family. They were wonderful.
And before we go, I know you have like hundreds of promotions in your mind, I'm sure. Is that what happens
Well,
to
I'm
you all
working
day
on
long?
one night. Well, you know, it's like sex. For me, promotion was like sex. Getting the promotion, the idea, and then building up to it is like the foreplay. Then when you do the promotion, it's like the climax. And then after you're done, what do I do next? You're depressed. Right now, at the age of 76, I am still promoting. I'm one of the creators of the Amgen Tour of California, the very successful bike race that just took place from Sausalito to
You did
Long
that?
Beach. Yes, and I sit on the board. David Salzman and I, along with my dear friend Stuart Rowlands
Oh, good.
and Danny Medford, who, while studying with his daughter, discovered that the monks had put the missions, a day's ride
yes.
apart.
Yes, yes,
And so
yes.
we came up with the idea, hey, that'd be great with a bike race, and we had it off.
That's right. 5th grade history
That's right.
traces the missions in
Yeah.
California.
And thanks to AEG, who came forward with the money, and David and I still sit on the board and are small partners, they had the power to make it really happen. And it will rival the Tour de France in a couple of years.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good for you. Thank you.
Yeah. I did nothing. But thank you for thanking me.
Thanks, Shelly, for being with us.
Thank you.
I was really happy to have you. And don't go away. We'll be right back with actor Robert Trebor. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Actor-writer Robert Trebor was born in Northeast Philadelphia. He majored in theater at Northwestern University. Robert is best known for his role as Salmonius on TV's Hercules Legendary Journeys and its sister production, Xena, Warrior Princess. You started your career, though, when you were about 13.
Well, yeah, actually. I'm also well known for playing a psychopath.
Oh, yes, yes.
For playing the son of Sam.
Son of Sam.
In fact, when I walk in New York, sometimes people say, "Aren't you the guy?" And this is like, it was like 20 years ago, 22 years ago. And I've changed a little bit, but I guess it made a fair impact.
I know, but how could you start your career at 13? Let's go back to that.
Well, this was in community theater. I wasn't getting paid at 13.
Well, that's okay.
I was playing Santa Claus in high school productions.
You knew what you wanted to do.
I kind of did. I kind of did.
But then you had like this mini career, right? And then you went to college?
No. Where are you getting your bio notes? I wasn't paid a nickel by career. I mean, I was working at the Abbey Playhouse in Philadelphia and the Cheltenham Playhouse. These were all essentially, non-union.
I don't care.
freebies.
I'm still calling it a career.
Well,
That's
thank
when
you.
you were starting.
Yeah. I can tell you that people have said, "What got you into this business?"
Yes.
It was really seeing Jack Lemmon in the days of Wine and Roses when I was 10 years old.
Is that right?
Yeah, my parents somehow took me to it. They didn't know what it was about, apparently,
saying.
about alcoholism. But his performance so permeated me to my marrow, to the very depths. I couldn't sleep that night. I couldn't sleep afterwards. And somehow, subconsciously, I said, I want to do to other people what Jack Lemmon has just done. I want to affect them so deeply with my work.
Acting like that.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? So then you had your mini career.
Yes.
Then you went to Northwestern
Yes.
for acting, which is a fabulous school,
Absolutely.
theater
Yeah.
school, right?
Yeah.
And you did a lot of productions there.
I did a lot of collegiate productions. I also worked in the Chicago area. This was all still non-union. I did something called The Phantom Sword's Revenge. I did classics also. I did Twelfth Night and The Barber of Seville in repertory at the Court Theater.
Were you
in Chicago.
singing?
I was singing, yes.
So are you really a song and dance?
Well, Joan, I mean, yeah, I played Finch in How to Succeed in Business. Yes, that was my big starring role.
But you had to be dancing, right?
Yeah,
Jumping around anyway.
Well, I took steps.
But that's so bizarre. Those kind of things that you're talking
Yes.
about, The Barber of Seville and How to Succeed,
Right.
and Son of Sam.
And Son of Sam. Yeah, that was a strange. Even while I was doing The Son of Sam off Broadway, I was doing Shel Silverstein's comedies at the Ensemble Studio Theater.
Oh, great.
I was literally working 21-hour days. I'd be picked up around 4 in the morning to be schlepped out to Union City to be this very intense, quiet psychopath with a lovely Martin Sheen. Part of my performance is due to Martin's interest. It was like, Martin Sheen wants to know about Bob Trebor? Sure, I'll tell you what I did. I took the gun. It was really Eddie Zigo learning about Son of Sam, but it was just two guys talking.
That's really interesting because everybody's saying when you work with a great actor,
Yes.
it just feeds. You feed each other, and you're just corroborating.
You forget about the acting. You don't feel like you're acting. You feel like you're with another person, and you've learned your character and your character's traits, and in this case, his psychopathy
Right.
and his pathology, and it's just, sure, I'll tell you anything you want to know. And the funny thing was, at that point, I'd done a lot of Shel Silverstein plays and a lot of off-Broadway, but I had not done any major films. And every cop in Jersey on the set wanted his picture taken with me.
With you?
Because he captured the Son of Sam.
Oh, isn't that great?
Yeah.
But I think there's this ironic story concerning John Frankenheimer, talking
yes.
about movies. Start with The Fixer, and then you come back. Tell
Exactly.
us.
Yeah. Well, in high school, actually, I didn't make money as an actor, but I made money as a critic, as a movie critic.
Oh, I
did for Scholastic Magazines, and I wrote a review of The Fixer for my high school newspaper, which was sent to Scholastic Magazine's National Awards, and I won 3rd prize.
Oh, that's what it was.
And so I gave him a very good review, and then I love The Fixer with Alan Bates, and then I don't know what was it. 20 years later, 18 years later, I was starring for him opposite Anne Margaret and Roy Scheider in 52 Pickup.
I know, isn't that amazing?
And the story about 52 Pickup is, I was sent by my agent at the time to the Canon offices in Beverly Hills. My agents got it messed up. I was supposed to meet him in Santa Monica. So nobody knew what I was doing there. He was there with his production designer. Nobody told me anything. I saw this man go to the elevator, push the down button. I recognized him from a documentary about directors as John Frankenheimer. And I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Frankenheimer, I have a meeting with you." And he said, well, who are you? Nobody told me you're here. And I said, well, I don't, all right, I'll read you myself. There was no casting director there.
He was
and gave me the
great,
part.
though,
He was
wasn't he?
wonderful.
A really
he loved
terrific.
actors. He really loved actors.
And loved to talk about it. Because I heard him give some seminars, and he loved to talk about the way he made his films and the actors. And
Absolutely. And I played a bad guy in that.
were you always going to be a character? I mean, here you were singing and dancing, but were you always thinking about being a character actor?
I really just wanted to work in good projects with the best people. I didn't care.
Well, you weren't going to be the handsome.
Oh, thank you so much, Joan.
You weren't going to be.
Nice of you to bring that up.
Yeah, I
No.
mean, you weren't going to be 007, were you? You were going to
was
be the person who tried to kill
That's
007.
exactly, yes. I was going to be the villain in the 007, exactly. And through my actor training, I realized I had the opportunity to do different kinds of accents, different kinds of parts. It was a flexibility that allowed me to play interesting. The character parts are often the best parts in the movies.
I think so, too. You remember them.
That's right. And often we get paid for doing what other people could get arrested for on the outside because it's in a very structured fashion. But I mean, you can't kill 17 people and get paid for it.
Did you write a book?
I did write a book, yes.
And what tell us, it was about Salmonius?
Salmonius was my character on Hercules and Xena, the world's first salesman.
Yes, that's good. Go on.
So the book is really about the world's first guide to love and money. Since I was never killed off, I reincarnated forever and could give advice to Donald Trump, the Spice Girls, Hercules, Zeus, Apollo, Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky.
As this character?
As this character, yeah.
Did you write about that then?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
I
interesting.
faked the questions and then I answered them in my character.
Oh, I love that. I did a story like that for a German magazine once on Sean Penn because he wouldn't give me the interview.
Yeah.
So I said, if he had given me the interview, this is what I would have asked.
Exactly.
And I think he would have answered this way.
Perfect. That's exactly what I try to think. What would Donald Trump say to Salmonius if he could, or what would Elvis Presley say? And also Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick, early in his career, asked Salmonius for advice. Stanley Kubrick wanted to make films.
He asked you.
He asked me? Well, he asked Salmonius. He wanted to make 2 or 3 films a year. And I said, hold on, young man. Take your time. Don't make so many films. Think about it for a while. And that's why he only made 12 films in his career.
He listened to you?
He listened to Salmonius, correct.
Yeah, that was great. I knew I couldn't get away with that in America because I knew it was a German magazine. I was afraid oh, Sean Penn's going to come after me.
Right.
So you have this other character that you're going to play, that you're playing. His name is Brother Theodore.
Would you like to meet him?
I would, but let me ask you about him. When they wanted Brother Theodore, someone to play Brother Theodore, they wanted really a psychopath and a salesman,
Yeah, right.
right?
In my press kit it says the perfect marriage of psychopath and salesman is Brother Theodore. I actually came up with this project. I wasn't asked to play the part. I kind of
you made
came
it?
up, yeah, I came up with the project.
And you're going to tell us a little bit. I want to meet him.
You want to meet Brother Theodore?
Yes, and what happens is he is at the Skylight, what is it? Skylark Theater. Let me read it. The Skylight Theater, Saturday nights at 10 o'clock, and it's a play about Brother Theodore starring Robert Trebor.
Yes, he's a fine actor. Brother Theodore, yes. It is a pleasure. I'm squirming with delight. I am squirming with delight.
Where did
to
you
be
come
on your
from?
show. Well, I was born in Dusseldorf. It is incorrect that I was born in Bavaria. A critic said I was born in Dusseldorf, which is Westphalia, not Bavaria. You see, in my show, I am truthful, but not necessarily accurate.
What is your background, Brother Theodore?
My background, I was born in Germany. I went through various travails until I came to America, and I started developing this show, and may I say, I'm really impressed with your set. It's cozy and pleasant.
Thank
Very
you.
much like my personality.
Thank you, thank
And
you.
it is a pleasure to be here following a promoter and an author of sports events. But I am trying to convince people desperately I am not a comedian. It is incorrect.
Are you? You're not a comedian?
No, I am a prophet and a visionary. On my income tax return, it says prophet. What are you laughing at?
I think you're so...
Well, you see, this is your show, so you're allowed to laugh. I'm trying to make a point about being a prophet and visionary, and I'm trying. You want to hear a joke? I will tell you a joke. Why did the chicken cross the road?
I don't know, brother.
To be decapitated and to have its embryo served sunny side up.
Oh, dear. Brother
That's why I don't
Theodore.
like jokes.
Brother Theodore.
Yes, ma'am.
What is this play about?
The play is called The Return of Brother Theodore. It deals with my observations about life, about eating, about dead rats walking on the sidewalk garnished with tartar sauce, and the way people should respond to phenomena in their lives. I'm trying to help people lead a proper life, if only... I'm sorry.
Did someone direct this play?
I conceived the play myself, and I'm not well. I'm not well.
Did you direct it, or you direct yourself?
I directed myself.
Do you write yourself
I
too?
wrote myself in conjunction with other writings. I was trying... I'm not a well person, I must tell you. If not for my madness, I would have gone insane years ago.
You do all these kind of scary things.
Well, things occur to me, and I'm trying to convey what is necessary about the human condition to people. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they do not. If somebody does not listen to you, how would you respond?
I get scared. I get
If somebody
scared.
doesn't listen, you get scared?
Well, I'm scared
That's one way of handling it.
I'm scared of you.
No, I'm not a scary person. I'm just plain folks.
But brother, are you in the
I exist
seminary?
on the smell of daffodils.
You're not in the seminary? You're not that
Not
kind of
recently.
brother?
I'm on your show. Can't you tell? The seminary is down the block, four blocks down.
Were you trained by priests?
I was not trained by priests. I was trained by life. A much more important teacher than priests. I spent time, well, to be perfectly honest with you, I spent time in a concentration camp. About 2 years. And I bought my way out by selling my family fortune for 1 Deutschmark. Some people, and Albert Einstein found me and brought me to America. Some people think I'm Albert Einstein's illegitimate son.
Ah.
We cannot verify this, but I'm not saying no.
Well, one of the things, if I can ask you, your play
Ask
goes
me
on
anything.
at 10 o'clock at night.
10 o'clock at night!
It's kind of scary to go out that late to go to the theater.
May I say, here in Los Angeles, I made a compromise.
Yes?
When I was working in New York, I did it at midnight.
Really?
And absolutely, and people would come. I tried doing it at midnight here last month. 2 people attended, and they didn't know where they were.
Oh, dear.
They were drunk out of their minds.
Oh, brother.
But I performed anyway.
Oh.
But now we're doing it at 10 because Angelinos like to go to bed early.
We do. And Brother Theodore, I'm going to come and watch you, so don't get mad.
Madam, I would never get mad. You're an attractive lady. You are much, much more attractive than Skippy Lowe and taller as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very
A
much.
pleasure.
Thank you. Oh, thank you
The
for being
continental
here.
style.
Thank you. And thank you for watching us today. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 90017. Bye. Perfect.